Come on, Jenkins, you've got this. Channel your inner Walt Whitman. I am large. I contain multitudes. Your legs might be screaming, but your spirit is infinite. I shouted across the track, watching Marcus Jenkins push through his final lap. The kid was struggling. His form was breaking down, shoulders hunching forward, but he didn't quit. That's what I loved about coaching cross-country. It wasn't about being the fastest or the strongest. It was about showing up when your body wanted to give up. Marcus crossed the finish line and collapsed onto the grass, chest heaving. I jogged over, crouched down beside him. You shaved 12 seconds off your personal best, I told him, grinning. 12 seconds, Marcus. That's not just improvement. That's transformation. He looked up at me, still gasping for air, but he was smiling. Coach Hale, you and your quotes, man. You really think Whitman was thinking about running when he wrote that? Whitman was thinking about everything when he wrote that, I said, standing up and offering him a hand. That's the whole point. Poetry isn't just words on a page. It's about living, about pushing yourself, about becoming more than you thought you could be. I helped him to his feet. The late afternoon light was that perfect gold that only happens in autumn, washing over the track, making everything look warm and possible. This was my favorite time of day, my favorite place to be. Here with these kids, I knew exactly who I was. My phone buzzed. Claire. Hey, babe. Picking up Ty on the way home. Lily has piano at 5:30, so we'll need to eat quick. Love you. I smiled at the screen, typed back a quick, perfect, see you soon, and gathered my clipboard and stopwatch. All right, everyone, great practice. Remember, we've got the meet on Saturday. Get your rest, hydrate, and I'll see you all tomorrow, I called out to the team. As I drove home, I felt that familiar contentment settle over me. This was the life I'd built. This was what mattered. Steady, reliable, safe. The Thai food was spread across our kitchen table when I walked in. Lily was at the piano in the living room practicing scales. Sam was on the floor with his action figures, making explosion sounds. Daddy! Sam launched himself at my legs the moment he saw me. Hey, buddy! I scooped him up, kissed the top of his head. Where's your mom? On the phone, Lily said from the piano bench, not looking up from the keys. I set Sam down and walked into the kitchen. Claire was leaning against the counter, phone pressed to her ear, laughing softly at something someone was saying. No, I know, it's just... Yeah, exactly, she was saying. Okay, I'll talk to you later. She glanced up, saw me, and her expression shifted. Not dramatically, just slightly. Hey, I have to go. Yeah, bye. She hung up and smiled at me, but there was something about it, something a little too bright. Who was that? I asked, washing my hands at the sink. Oh, just Sarah. Book club stuff, Claire said quickly, moving to the table. Come on, let's eat before the pad thai gets cold. We sat down together, the four of us, and I watched Claire as she served food onto everyone's plates. She seemed distracted. Her phone was face down next to her plate, and I noticed her glance at it twice during dinner. So what's the book club reading this month? I asked, stabbing a piece of chicken with my fork. Claire paused, just for a second. Oh, it's that new one everyone's talking about. The one about the woman who, you know, the thriller, with the unreliable narrator. That narrows it down, I said, laughing. Every thriller has an unreliable narrator these days. Yeah, well, it's good, she said, taking a sip of water. You'd probably like it, actually. Very psychological. Lily looked up from her noodles. Mommy goes to book club a lot now. I go once a week, sweetie, Claire said, reaching over to smooth Lily's hair. Same as always. But you used to be home more, Lily said, her voice small. Claire's face softened. I know, baby. But Mommy needs her time with her friends, right? Just like Daddy has his running practices. I watched the exchange. Lily didn't say anything else, just went back to her food. But I saw the way her little shoulders hunched slightly, the way she got quiet. It's good for Mom to have her book club, I said, smiling at Claire. Everyone needs their thing. Claire smiled back at me, but again, that brightness, that slightly too much quality. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I found Claire in our bedroom, already under the covers, scrolling through her phone. I brushed my teeth, changed into my pajamas. climbed into bed beside her. She didn't look up from her screen. "Hey," I said softly, moving closer to her. I put my hand on her hip, leaned in to kiss her neck. "Ethan, I'm really tired," she said, her voice gentle but firm. She finally looked at me, and there was apology in her eyes. "Can we, maybe this weekend? I promise." "Yeah, of course," I said, pulling back. "You okay? You seem stressed." "Just work stuff," she said, setting her phone on the nightstand and turning off her lamp. "And Lily's piano recital coming up, and Sam's t-ball, and just, life." She rolled over, facing away from me, and I stared at the ceiling fan slowly rotating above us. "You're so good with the kids," she said quietly into the darkness. "They're so lucky to have you." I lay there for a long moment, listening to her breathing start to even out. "We're all lucky," I finally said, but she was already asleep, or at least pretending to be, and I was left staring at the shadows on the ceiling, trying to remember the last time we'd really touched each other. The next afternoon, I was loading equipment into my car in the school parking lot when Jennifer Wallace, one of the other English teachers, walked by with her coffee. "Hey, Ethan," she said, stopping beside my car. "How's Claire doing?" "She's good," I said, closing the trunk. "Busy with work and the kids, you know how it is." "Yeah, I saw her having coffee downtown last week," Jennifer said casually. "With that photographer guy who did the tourism board campaign, Julian something?" They looked pretty deep in conversation. Something cold flickered in my chest. "Oh yeah, they probably had a work meeting. She's been helping with the new campaign materials." "Probably," Jennifer agreed, but there was something in her tone, something I couldn't quite name. "Anyway, see you tomorrow." She walked away, and I stood there holding my car keys, that cold feeling spreading. Thursday night was book club night again. "Okay, I'm heading out," Claire called from the front door. She was wearing a nice sweater, jeans, had done her makeup, more than she usually did for book club. "Have fun," I said, looking up from helping Sam with a puzzle on the living room floor. "What time will you be back?" "Probably around 10. You know how Sarah gets when we start talking," Claire said, slinging her purse over her shoulder. "Text me when you get there," I said. She paused just for a second. "Of course. Love you." "Love you too." The door closed behind her, and I sat there with Sam's puzzle pieces scattered around me. After I put the kids to bed, I found myself pacing. I tried to watch TV, tried to grade papers. But that conversation with Jennifer kept replaying in my head. I picked up my phone, opened Find My. Claire's location was supposed to be at Sarah's house across town, but it wasn't. She was at an address I didn't recognize, in a neighborhood I'd never been to. I stared at the screen. My heart was pounding. There had to be an explanation. Maybe they were meeting somewhere different this time. Maybe Sarah moved. Maybe... I opened our shared family calendar, checked the Google timeline. Every Thursday for the past 3 months, Claire had been at this same unfamiliar address. I texted her, "Hey, hope book club is fun. Miss you." No response. 20 minutes later. "Hey, babe, sorry. Phone was in my purse, having a great time. Sarah says hi." I looked at Find My again. Her phone was still at that address. Had been there the entire time. I didn't sleep that night. Friday afternoon, I left parent-teacher conferences early. One of my meetings canceled, and I found myself getting in my car with an hour to spare before I needed to pick up Lily from her friend's house. Claire had texted earlier that she was running errands. Her car was gone from the house when I drove by. I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself I was being that guy, the jealous husband who doesn't trust his wife. But my hands pulled up, Find My anyway. And my eyes found that address, and my car started driving there before I could talk myself out of it. It was a quiet residential street, townhouses, nice ones. I parked down the block, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel. Claire's car was there, parked in a driveway. I sat there for 15 minutes, 20, telling myself to leave, telling myself to trust her. Then the door opened. Claire walked out, and she was laughing. That real laugh, the one I hadn't heard in months. A man followed her out, tall, athletic, probably late 30s. He had his arm around her waist. They stopped on the porch. He turned her toward him. She looked up at him, and they kissed. Not a peck, not a friendly kiss, a real kiss. The kind of kiss that said this wasn't the first time. I sat in my dark car watching my wife kiss another man, and I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Time stretched out and became something strange and elastic. I watched her run her hand through his hair, watched him whisper something in her ear that made her smile, watched her walk to her car, get in, and drive away. The man, Julian, I assumed, stood on his porch and watched her go, smiling. I sat there for another 10 minutes after both of them were gone. The engine was off. No music, no radio, just the sound of my own breathing, harsh and uneven in the silence. When I got home, Claire was already there, unloading groceries in the kitchen. "Hey, where'd you come from?" she asked brightly. "I thought you had conferences? Until 6. "One canceled," I said, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. Hollow. "Oh, well, perfect timing. Can you help me with these bags? They're so heavy," she said, gesturing to the grocery bags on the counter. I moved like I was underwater, picked up a bag, started putting things away. "How was your day?" I asked. "Oh, busy," she said, pulling out yogurt containers. "Had to go all the way across town to that specialty store for Sam's dairy-free cheese. Traffic was a nightmare." She was lying, standing 3 feet from me, putting groceries away, talking about traffic, and lying. "That sounds frustrating," I said. "Yeah, but I got everything we needed," she said. She came over, kissed my cheek. "Thanks for helping. You're the best." Later that night, after the kids were in bed, after Claire had taken a shower and gotten into her pajamas, I sat at the kitchen table, in the dark. The house was quiet. I'd checked on both kids twice. Lily was curled up with her stuffed elephant. Sam was spread out like a starfish, his covers already kicked off. I'd covered him back up, stood there watching him sleep, and felt something break inside my chest. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Claire appeared in the kitchen doorway wearing her robe, hair wet from the shower. "Hey, what are you doing down here in the dark?" she asked, softly. She walked over, wrapped her arms around me from behind, rested her chin on my shoulder. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just thinking about the meet on Saturday. Want to make sure I've got everything organized." She kissed my neck. "You always have everything organized. You're the most organized person I know." Her arms were warm around me. Her hair smelled like her shampoo, that coconut scent I'd been waking up to for 12 years. "I'm sorry I was so late last night," she murmured against my neck. "I love you." I put my hand over hers where it rested on my chest, felt her wedding ring under my palm. After a long beat, I said very quietly, "I know." She squeezed me tighter, kissed my neck again, then pulled away. "Come to bed soon, okay? Don't stay up too late." "I won't," I said. I listened to her footsteps go back up the stairs, listened to the bedroom door close softly. Then I pulled out my phone, opened the old iPad we kept in the kitchen, the one the kids sometimes used for educational games. And I found the messages, conversations going back over a year, photos, plans, and finally the ones from this week. Julian: "You keep saying after the track season, the kids already ask about me. How much longer?" Claire: "I know. Ethan would fall apart if I told him right now. He's already so stressed with the team. Just a little longer. I'm figuring out the best way." I closed the iPad, set it down carefully on the table. Upstairs, I could hear the house settling into sleep, the heater clicking on, the familiar sounds of the home I'd built. I sat alone in my kitchen, in the dark, and I knew everything that came next would hurt. The iPad sat closed in front of me like evidence at a crime scene, which I guess it was. The crime of a marriage ending in slow motion, one text message at a time. One lie stacked on top of another until the whole thing became this towering structure of deception that somehow I'd been living inside without noticing the walls closing in. After the track season, Ethan would fall apart. Just a little longer. I kept replaying those phrases, turning them over, examining them from every angle like I was trying to solve some complex literary metaphor for my students. Except this wasn't Faulkner or Morrison. This was my wife planning her exit strategy around my work schedule. This was my wife worried I'd fall apart while simultaneously being the one tearing everything apart. The heater clicked on, clicked off. The refrigerator hummed. Normal house sounds. Everything exactly the same as it had been an hour ago, except now I knew. Around midnight, I went upstairs, stood in Lily's doorway. She was curled on her side, arms wrapped around that stuffed elephant I'd won for her at the county fair when she was 4. Her hair was spread across the pillow, and in the dim light from the hallway, she looked so small, so vulnerable. 7 years old, and already asking why Mommy goes to book club so much. I walked over, pulled her blanket up higher. She stirred slightly, made a soft sound, settled back into sleep. "I'm going to fix this," I whispered. "I promise." Sam's room was next. He was spread out like a starfish, one leg hanging off the mattress, covers kicked into a tangled heap at the foot of the bed. 4 years old. Too young to understand any of this. Too young to have his world split in half. I covered him back up, tucked the blanket around his shoulders. He mumbled something about dinosaurs and rolled onto his side. I stood there watching him breathe, in and out, in and out. That's simple, that uncomplicated. When I came back downstairs, it was almost 1 in the morning. I picked up the iPad again, scrolled back through the messages I'd already read, forcing myself to look at them again, making sure I hadn't imagined it, making sure my mind hadn't twisted something innocent into something terrible. But no, it was all there. A year's worth of planning. Photos of Julian's townhouse that Claire must have taken, must have sent to him while I was at practice or putting the kids to bed. Messages about custody arrangements they'd already started strategizing. Messages about how to transition the kids to Julian's presence. Messages about timing the separation for minimal disruption. Minimal disruption. Like my children's lives could be managed like some corporate restructuring. Like love and trust and 12 years of marriage could be phased out over a quarterly timeline. I closed the iPad, set it down, put my head in my hands, and for the first time in years, maybe since my father's funeral when I was 19, I let myself cry. Not quiet tears, not dignified grief, real crying, the kind that makes your chest hurt and your throat raw, the kind that comes from somewhere deep and primitive, where language doesn't exist yet. I cried for what I'd lost, for what I'd apparently never really had, for the version of Claire I thought I'd married, for the man I thought I was, for Lily asking questions she shouldn't have to ask, for Sam's uncomplicated joy that was about to get very complicated. I cried until I couldn't anymore, until I was empty, until the only thing left was this strange, cold clarity. At 2 in the morning, I got in my car, didn't think about where I was going, just drove. I ended up at the school. The parking lot was empty, dark except for the security lights casting long shadows across the pavement. I could see the track beyond the building. That familiar oval I'd walked probably 10,000 times. I parked facing the track, cut the engine, sat there in the silence. "I am large," I whispered to the empty car. "I contain multitudes." Whitman. The line I'd been shouting at Marcus Jenkins just yesterday afternoon. The line I'd been using to inspire 17-year-olds to push through discomfort. The line about containing contradictions, about being more than one thing. I'd been using it as motivation. Run faster. Push harder. Become more than you think you can be. But sitting there in my dark car at 2 in the morning, I understood it differently. I contained multitudes. I was the loving father and the husband who'd been betrayed. I was the steady coach and the man falling apart. I was the person who wanted to rage and scream and burn everything down, and I was also the person who needed to protect 2 kids sleeping peacefully in their beds. I was large. I contained all of it. The grief and the anger. The love for who Claire used to be and the fury at who she'd become. The desire to run away and the absolute certainty that I couldn't. The wave I'd been holding back since I sat down at that kitchen table, maybe the wave I'd been holding back for months without realizing it, hit me all at once. Every lie, every book club night, Every time she'd pulled away when I'd reached for her, every moment she'd been texting Julian while I was reading bedtime stories to our kids. I let it crash over me, let it pull me under, let myself drown in it. Because tomorrow, or today, since it was already past midnight, I was going to have to swim. I was going to have to coach this crisis the way I coached my runners. With strategy, with endurance, with a clear finish line in mind. But right now, in this dark car, in this empty parking lot, I let myself break. By the time I drove home, the sky was starting to lighten. That pre-dawn gray that comes before real morning. I parked in the driveway and sat there for another 10 minutes, pulling myself together, putting the pieces back in some kind of functional order. Then I went inside, moved quietly through the house, found the USB drive I kept in my desk drawer, the one I'd used for backing up old lesson plans years ago, plugged it into the iPad. I photographed every message, every photo, every piece of evidence that proved what Claire had been planning. Time-stamped. Saved. Backed up to a hidden folder with a password only I knew. I wasn't sure yet what I was going to do with it, but I knew I needed it. Knew that whatever came next, I couldn't let Claire control the narrative. Couldn't let her rewrite history. Couldn't let her tell Lily and Sam some version of the story where their father just gave up or wasn't enough or didn't try. When I was done, I erased my tracks, cleared the history, put the USB drive in my coaching bag where Claire would never think to look. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I made breakfast, real breakfast, not cereal and toast, pancakes, scrambled eggs, orange juice in the good glasses. I was standing at the stove when Lily came down, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Daddy?" She looked around, confused. "Why are you making pancakes? It's not Sunday." "I know, sweetheart. I just felt like it." I flipped a pancake, caught it perfectly in the pan. "Come sit down. Tell me about your dreams." She climbed into her chair, swinging her legs. "I dreamed about the zoo. There were penguins, but they could fly. Is that silly?" "Not silly at all. Dreams don't have to follow rules. That's what makes them interesting." I set a plate in front of her, pancakes cut into a smiley face. "What else?" "Well," she poured syrup carefully, tongue between her teeth in concentration. "The penguins took me flying over the ocean, and I wasn't scared at all. I felt really happy." "That sounds like a wonderful dream." "Yeah?" She took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby?" "Mommy talks on the phone a lot now. After book club, in the car before she comes inside. Sometimes I can hear her from my window." My hand tightened on the spatula. "Yeah? Yeah. She sounds different. Like happy sad, you know? Like when you smile, but your eyes are still sad." I stood at the stove, back to her so she couldn't see my face. "People's voices do that sometimes. Life is complicated. Are you and Mommy okay?" I turned around, looked at my daughter sitting there with syrup on her chin and worry in her eyes. 7 years old and already sensing the fractures. "Lily, I want you to know something. No matter what happens, no matter what changes, I am always going to be right here. Always. Do you understand?" She nodded slowly. "Okay. Now eat your pancakes before they get cold." Sam thundered down the stairs a minute later, saw the feast on the table, and let out a whoop of joy. Simple. Uncomplicated. 4 years old. I made him a plate shaped like a race car. He didn't ask questions about Mommy's phone calls or happy sad voices. He just ate and made engine noises and kicked his feet against his chair. Claire came down last, already dressed for work, moving fast. "Oh, wow, pancakes!" She grabbed a piece of toast instead, started making coffee. "Sorry, babe. I'm running late. I've got that meeting at 9. "No problem," I said. My voice sounded normal, steady. "I made enough if you want to take some in the car." "That's sweet, but I'm fine." She grabbed her purse, her phone, kissed both kids on the top of their heads, moved toward the door. "Claire?" She turned. "Yeah?" I looked at her. Really looked. Tried to find the woman I'd married in the face of this stranger who'd been planning to leave me for over a year. "Have a good day," I said. "You too." She smiled. That bright, too bright smile. Love you. Love you too. The door closed. Her car started. Drove away. I stood at the sink, washing dishes, listening to Lily tell Sam a story about flying penguins. By the time I got to school, I'd mapped out the next moves like I was planning a race strategy. Document everything. Increase my presence. Protect the kids. Force normalcy until I had every piece in place. I walked into my classroom, set down my coaching bag with the USB drive hidden in the front pocket, and started setting up for first period. Jennifer Wallace stopped by my door. Morning, Ethan. You okay? You look exhausted. Rough night. Sam had a nightmare. The lie came easily. Ah, poor guy. Hey, are you coming to the staff meeting this afternoon? They're talking about the spring schedule. Wouldn't miss it. She smiled, waved, kept walking. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, started pulling up lesson plans for the day. But my mind was already running the race. Every step, every mile, every strategy I'd need to cross the finish line with my kids safe and the truth intact. I wasn't the passive husband anymore. I wasn't the man who avoided conflict and hoped everything would work out if I just kept my head down and coached cross-country and loved his family hard enough. I was something else now, something I'd never been before. I was the father who would do whatever it took, the man who would run the hardest race of his life, the person who contained multitudes, grief and strategy, love and necessary calculation. I pulled out my coaching notebook, flipped to a fresh page, started writing down everything I knew, everything I'd need, every move that would keep Lily and Sam's world as stable as possible while I dismantled the carefully constructed lies around them. The bell rang. Students started filing in. I stood up, smiled, greeted them by name, and somewhere deep inside, I felt it. The shift, the transformation, the race had already started. I was just the only one who knew it yet. The first thing I changed was Tuesday afternoons. For 3 years, I'd stayed late at school after practice, grading papers in my empty classroom while the custodians vacuumed the hallways. It had seemed efficient, productive, a way to keep work and home separate. Now I packed everything into my bag and brought it home. Set up at the kitchen table where I could hear Lily practicing piano in the next room, where Sam would wander over every 10 minutes to show me a drawing or ask me to build something with his blocks. Daddy, can you make a castle? Absolutely, buddy. Just give me 2 minutes to finish this paragraph. Claire walked through on Wednesday evening, saw me surrounded by student essays and Sam's Lego pieces, and stopped. You're working here now? Yeah. Figured I'd be around more in the evenings. You know, in case the kids need anything. I didn't look up from the paper I was grading. Kept my voice casual, normal. That's great. She stood there for another moment, and I could feel her watching me. You've been really present this week. Just trying to be a good dad, I said, finally meeting her eyes. Isn't that what we both want? Of course. Yeah, you seem different. I smiled. Different how? I don't know. More here. More focused on the kids. I'm always focused on the kids, Claire. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something else, then closed it. Grabbed her phone from the counter. I'm going to call Sarah about book club stuff. We're discussing the reading schedule. Sounds good. She left the room, and I went back to grading. But my hand moved to my coaching bag on the floor beside my chair. Felt the outline of the small notebook I'd started keeping there. The timeline, the documentation, every Thursday night location, every inconsistency, every lie. I was building something, a case, a record, a way to make sure that when the truth finally came out, and it would come out, I'd make sure of that. There would be no confusion about who had been present and who had been planning an exit. Sunday morning, I woke up early, made coffee, started pulling out ingredients. By the time Lily came downstairs in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes, I had the griddle heating and batter mixed. Pancakes again? She asked, climbing into her chair. New tradition, I said, pouring the first circle of batter onto the griddle. Sunday morning strategy sessions. You get to choose your toppings, and we talk about the week ahead, what races we're running, what goals we're setting. Like your cross-country team? Exactly like that. Everyone's got their own race to run. Everyone's got their own pace. But we train together. We support each other. We make sure nobody runs alone. Sam came down next, already energized, despite just waking up. I want chocolate chips and whipped cream and... Slow down, buddy. We'll get there. I flipped the pancake, watched it land perfectly. But first, tell me about your race this week. What are you working on in pre-K? He thought for a moment, face scrunched up in concentration. Letters. Miss Andrea says I need to practice my name better. The S is hard. The S is hard, I agreed, setting a stack of pancakes in front of him. But you know what? Every hard thing gets easier if you practice. That's called training. That's called not giving up just because something feels difficult right now. Lily was watching me. Really watching. Something in her expression reminded me of myself, that look of someone trying to figure out what was really being said underneath the words. Daddy, what race are you running? The question hit me harder than it should have. I stood at the stove with the spatula in my hand, looking at my 7-year-old daughter who somehow knew to ask. I'm running the race of being the best dad I can be, I said quietly. That's the most important one. She nodded slowly, poured syrup on her pancakes. I had a bad dream last night. Yeah? What about? You and Mommy were talking, but your voices were quiet. The bad kind of quiet. Like when you're trying not to let us hear, but we can hear anyway. I pulled out the chair next to her. Sat down. Lily, sometimes grown-ups go through difficult things. Sometimes the trail gets rocky. But that doesn't mean we stop running. It means we keep putting one foot in front of the other. Together. You understand? I think so. She took a bite of pancake, chewed slowly. But are you and Mommy okay? Families sometimes feel wobbly, I said, choosing each word carefully. Like when you're learning to ride your bike without training wheels. Remember how that felt? A little scary, a little unsteady, but you kept going because I was right there running beside you. You won't let me fall? I will always be right here. That's a promise. No matter what happens, no matter what changes, you and Sam are my most important race. Nothing else comes close. She seemed satisfied with that. Went back to her pancakes. Sam was building a tower out of his chocolate chips, completely oblivious to the weight of the conversation happening 3 feet away from him. Claire appeared in the doorway, already dressed. Oh, family breakfast. How sweet. Join us, I said, gesturing to the empty chair. I can't. I have to meet Sarah in 20 minutes. We're going to that new bookstore that opened downtown. On Sunday morning? They have a special author event thing. It's complicated. I'll explain later. She grabbed her purse, kissed both kids quickly. Be good for Daddy. When will you be back? I asked. Probably around 2, 3 at the latest. I watched her leave, heard her car start, disappear down the street. Then I opened Find My on my phone. She wasn't heading downtown toward the bookstore district. She was heading east, toward that familiar neighborhood, that familiar address. I set the phone down, looked at my kids eating pancakes at the kitchen table. All right, who wants to help me clean up? Then we're going to the park. That afternoon, while Sam played on the swings and Lily climbed the jungle gym, I found myself standing next to Jennifer Wallace. Her son was in the sandbox. She had a coffee in her hand. Hey, Ethan. Solo dad duty today? Claire's at a book club thing. Author event. On Sunday morning? Jennifer raised an eyebrow. Must be some book club. I let the comment sit there for a moment. Didn't confirm, didn't deny, just stood there watching Lily swing across the monkey bars. She's been really busy lately, I finally said. Have you noticed? Claire, I mean. She seems stressed. Jennifer took a sip of her coffee. You know what? Now that you mention it, yeah. I saw her getting coffee last week. Not the time I told you about before, a different time. And she just seemed, I don't know, on edge. Distracted. Yeah, that's the word. Distracted. I watched Sam climb up the slide the wrong way. I'm trying to be more present at home. Pick up the slack. Make sure the kids have stability. That's good. Kids need that. She paused. Everything okay with you two? We're working through some things, I said carefully. Marriage is a marathon, not a sprint. Sometimes you hit rough patches. Sometimes the terrain gets difficult, but you keep running because the finish line matters. That's very philosophical. I teach English. It's an occupational hazard. She laughed, but I could see her filing away the information. Jennifer Wallace knew everyone, talked to everyone. Within a week, people would start asking Claire if everything was okay at home. Expressing concern, noticing things. I was planting seeds, small ones, gentle ones, but seeds that would grow. Wednesday night, around 10, Lily screamed. I was out of bed and in her room before I'd fully woken up. She was sitting up, crying, her elephant clutched to her chest. Hey, baby, I'm here. I sat on the edge of her bed, pulled her into my arms. You're okay. It was just a dream. It wasn't just a dream, she sobbed against my shoulder. It felt real. You were gone. Mommy was gone. Everyone was gone and I couldn't find anybody. Shh. I'm right here. Feel my hand? That's real. Hear my voice? That's real. The dream isn't real. She clung to me, and I felt her small body shaking. 7 years old, and already carrying fear she shouldn't have to carry. Already sensing the earthquake beneath her feet, even if she didn't understand what was causing it. Sometimes, I said softly, when we're worried about things during the day, our brains keep working on them at night, and that turns into dreams. Bad ones sometimes. But here's what I want you to remember. No matter what you dream, no matter what worries come into your head at night, when you wake up, I will be right down the hall every single morning. That's not going to change. Promise? Promise. Cross my heart. Scout's honor. Pinky swear. Every promise I know how to make. She pulled back slightly, wiped her nose on her pajama sleeve. Daddy, if you and Mommy get wobbly like you said, will you tell me? I don't want to be surprised. The question nearly broke me, but I kept my voice steady, kept my face calm. If anything big is going to change, I will tell you in a way that makes sense, and I will make sure you understand that nothing, and I mean nothing, changes how much I love you and Sam. Okay? Okay. I stayed with her until she fell back asleep, sat in the chair by her window watching her breathe, and felt rage building in my chest. Not the explosive kind, the cold, calculated kind, the kind that makes decisions, the kind that doesn't forget. Claire had done this. Claire and Julian and their year of planning and their minimal disruption timeline. They'd done this to my daughter, given her nightmares, made her afraid of being abandoned. I stood up slowly, walked out of Lily's room, checked on Sam, still asleep, still spread out like a starfish. Then I went downstairs. The house was dark. Claire was already asleep, or pretending to be. Either way, she wasn't going to notice what I was doing. I grabbed my coaching bag from the hall closet, pulled out the small notebook I'd been keeping, carried it to the garage, sat in my car with the overhead light on, and started writing. Wednesday, 10:47 p.m. Lily had nightmare about abandonment. Asked directly if Claire and I would tell her if things changed. 7 years old and already sensing the instability created by Claire's deception. I wrote down everything from the past few days. The Sunday morning find my location that didn't match Claire's story. The conversation with Jennifer Wallace, Lily's questions, the pancake strategy sessions, my increased presence, Claire's growing defensive energy, every detail documented, every inconsistency recorded, every moment that showed who was present and who was lying. When I was done, I closed the notebook, set it carefully in the hidden compartment under the spare tire where Claire would never think to look. Then I sat there in the dark garage and whispered Whitman's line again. I am large. I contain multitudes. I contained the loving father who made pancake breakfasts, and I contained the strategic man building a case that would protect his children. I contained the husband who still felt grief, and I contained the person who would absolutely destroy the narrative Claire had been constructing. I contained love, and I contained necessary anger. Both were true. Both existed simultaneously. Both were mine to carry. I turned off the overhead light, got out of the car, went back inside. Tomorrow I'd keep teaching, keep coaching, keep showing up at the kitchen table to grade papers, keep making breakfast, keep checking on my kids at night, and underneath all of that visible steadiness, I'd keep building, keep documenting, keep preparing. The race was long, but I'd run longer races. I'd coached kids through harder training. I knew how to pace myself. I knew how to save energy for the final sprint. Claire thought the season ended in 2 weeks at the championship meet. She thought that was her deadline, her exit point, the moment when she'd finally tell me. But what she didn't understand was that I'd already changed the race. I'd already moved the finish line. I'd already started running while she was still tying her shoes. And by the time she realized what was happening, I'd be miles ahead with the truth on my side and my children safe behind me. Thursday afternoon, Claire was waiting in the kitchen when I got home from practice. "We need to talk," she said. I set my coaching bag on the counter. "Okay? I've been thinking. About us. About the tension in the house. About how the kids are picking up on things." She was standing with her arms crossed, and I could see she'd rehearsed this. Practiced the words. "I think we need some space. Not permanently, just temporarily. So we can both think clearly without the kids sensing every little thing between us." "What kind of space?" "I think you should move into the guest room for a while, just until we figure things out. It's better than this weird energy we have right now. Better than Lily having nightmares because she can feel us being disconnected." I looked at her, really studied her face. She thought she was being strategic, thought she was creating distance so the eventual separation would feel natural, progressive, like we'd been growing apart instead of her actively planning an exit with another man. "If that's what you think is best for the kids," I said slowly, "then okay. Whatever helps them stay calm." She blinked. She'd expected resistance, expected me to fight for our bedroom, for proximity, for the illusion of normalcy. "Really? You're okay with that?" "Claire, I'm okay with whatever protects Lily and Sam from more confusion. If sleeping in separate rooms makes the house feel more stable for them, then that's what matters, right? That's what we both want. Stability for our kids." "Right. Yes, exactly." She seemed thrown off balance. I thought you'd be more upset." "I'm focused on what's best for the family," I said. "That's all I've ever been focused on." She stood there for another moment, then nodded. "Okay, good. I'll help you move some things after dinner." "Don't worry about it. I can handle it." That night, after the kids were asleep, I carried my clothes to the guest room, set up my laptop on the small desk, hung my coaching jacket in the closet, and smiled, because Claire had just given me exactly what I needed. Freedom to work late without her noticing. Space to make phone calls she couldn't overhear. Distance that would make the eventual evidence even more damning. She'd pushed me away, isolated me while planning her exit. More documentation, more proof. Friday morning I called David Chin. He'd been our family lawyer for years, handled the mortgage paperwork when we bought the house, drafted our wills after Sam was born, knew us both, which meant I needed to be careful about how I approached this. "Ethan, good to hear from you. What can I do for you?" I was sitting in my car in the school parking lot during my planning period, door closed, windows up. "Hey, David, I know this is probably premature, but with the kids getting older, I was thinking we should update our will. Lily's 7 now, Sam's 4. Different ages, different needs, different considerations. That's smart. It's good to review these things every few years. You thinking about guardianship provisions, education trusts, all of it, really? I want to make sure everything's rock solid, that if anything ever happened to me, the kids would be protected, that their stability would be guaranteed." I paused, chose my words carefully. "And I guess I'm also wondering about custody arrangements. If Claire and I ever separated. Not that we're planning to, but I've been reading about how often marriages end these days. And I just want to understand what factors courts consider when determining primary custody." Silence on the other end. Then David's voice, more careful now. "Is everything okay, Ethan?" "Everything's fine. I'm just being thorough. You know me. I like to understand all possible scenarios." "Okay. Well, in Virginia, courts look at several factors. Best interests of the child is the standard. They consider which parent has been the primary caretaker, who has more stability and consistency in their schedule, who maintains the home environment, any evidence of fitness or lack thereof, They also look at the child's relationship with each parent, especially for kids Lily's age who can express preferences. And documentation. Say hypothetically one parent could prove they'd been more present, more involved, more consistent. Would that matter? Another pause. It could matter. A lot. Especially if the other parent's behavior raised questions about judgment or priorities. Why are you asking this, Ethan? Just covering bases, I said. Being prepared. You know how I am about planning ahead. All right. Well, let's schedule a time to review everything properly. Bring Claire in too, so we're all on the same page. Actually, I'd like to come in alone first, get my thoughts organized before we involve her. You know how these conversations can spiral. I want to make sure I'm asking the right questions. Sure, that works. How's Tuesday afternoon? Perfect. I hung up and sat there in my car, watching students walk past on their way to lunch. I just set up a legal consultation without tipping my hand, without revealing what I knew, without giving Claire any warning that I was building a case for primary custody. One more piece in place. That afternoon I was standing at the track watching the team run warm-up laps when Rebecca Morrison walked over. Her son Tyler was one of my distance runners. Coach Hale, you got a minute? Of course. Tyler doing okay? Oh yeah, he's great. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something else. She looked around like she was checking if anyone could overhear. My husband works in commercial lending at First National. He mentioned something the other day that I thought you should know about. My stomach tightened. Yeah? He said Julian Torres, that photographer who did the tourism campaign, came in for a business loan extension. Apparently his studio's been struggling. He defaulted on his previous loan, and they're being pretty aggressive about collection. My husband can't give me details because of client confidentiality, but he mentioned it because he knows Claire works with Julian on those projects. I kept my face neutral. Interested, but not too interested. Huh, that's tough. Small businesses are hard. Yeah, but here's the thing. My husband also said this isn't Julian's first financial mess. Apparently he has a pattern, gets intense about relationships, moves fast, then when things fall apart, personally or professionally, he leaves a trail of debt and burned bridges. There was something about another woman a couple years ago. Same pattern. New relationship, big plans, financial chaos. Then he disappeared when it got complicated. My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed steady. That's concerning, especially if Claire's doing contract work with him. I'll mention it to her. Make sure she's protecting herself professionally. Good idea. I just thought you should know. Small creative community around here. People talk. Thanks for the heads up, Rebecca. I appreciate you looking out for us. She walked away, and I stood there gripping my clipboard so hard my knuckles went white. Julian wasn't just a photographer having an affair with my wife. He was a man with a pattern of intense relationships and financial instability. A man who'd done this before. A man who left wreckage behind him. And Claire was planning to introduce him to my children. Planning to upend their lives for a man who couldn't keep a business afloat and had a history of abandoning commitments when things got hard. I pulled out my phone, typed a note into the hidden folder where I kept everything. Rebecca Morrison reports Julian Torres has defaulted business loan, pattern of failed relationships and financial chaos. Claire planning future with financially unstable man who has history of abandonment. I'd file this away. Use it later. When the time came to show Claire, and if necessary, a judge, exactly who she'd been choosing over her family's stability. That evening, after dinner, Lily helped me load the dishwasher. Claire was in the living room with Sam. Daddy? Lily's voice was small. Why does Mommy go to book clubs so much if it makes her so tired? I stopped rinsing a plate. What makes you say she's tired? She always seems tired after. Like sad tired. And she doesn't want to talk about it when I ask her questions about the book. She just says, "Not now, sweetie," and goes to her room. I crouch down next to her, eye level. Lily, sometimes grown-ups have things they're working through that don't have easy explanations. But I want you to know something. No matter what Mom is going through, no matter what's making her tired or distracted, that has nothing to do with you and Sam. You two are perfect. You're not causing any of this. Do you understand? But what is she working through? That's something Mom needs to figure out for herself. My job, and I promise I'm going to do it no matter what, is to make sure you and your brother always feel safe and loved and stable. That's my race to run. and I'm running it every single day. She nodded slowly, then went back to handing me dishes. But I could see her filing it away. Processing. My 7-year-old daughter, who was too smart for her own good, already understanding more than she should have to. Later that night, I was in the guest room working on lesson plans when I heard Claire's voice through the wall. She was in our bedroom, her bedroom now, I guess, talking on the phone. Her voice was low, but the walls were thin. I know, but it's harder than I thought. He's being so present with the kids. It's like he suddenly decided to be Father of the Year. No. I asked him to move to the guest room, and he just agreed. Like, it didn't even bother him. I don't know what that means. Yes, the weekend is still on. I told him it's a girls' trip. Sarah's covering for me if he asks. 2 more weeks until the meet is over. Then we can talk about timelines for real. I miss you too. I sat there in the dark, listening to my wife plan her weekend with Julian. Listening to her complain about me being present with our children like that was somehow an inconvenience to her exit strategy. I opened my laptop, started typing. Friday, 9:47 p.m., overheard Claire on phone with Julian. Confirmed girls' weekend is cover story. Sarah providing alibi. Direct quote, 2 more weeks until the meet is over, then we can talk about timelines for real. Claire views championship as her deadline for disclosure. I saved the document, backed it up to 3 different locations. Then I changed into running clothes and drove to the school. The track was empty. Dark, except for the security lights. I stood at the starting line, looked at the oval stretching out in front of me. Then I started running. Hard intervals. Sprint the straightaways. Jog the curves. Push until your lungs burn. Until your legs scream. Until the physical pain drowns out everything else. I ran and thought about Julian's failed business. His pattern of intense relationships that ended in chaos. His financial instability. His history of abandonment. I ran and thought about Claire on the phone, counting down the days, using Sarah as cover, planning her disclosure timeline around my coaching schedule, like I was just an obstacle to manage. I ran and thought about Lily's nightmares, her questions about why mommy seemed sad, tired, her 7-year-old brain trying to make sense of adult dysfunction she shouldn't have to witness. I ran and thought about Sam's uncomplicated joy, his dinosaur dreams, his complete trust that his world was safe because his parents said it was. I ran until I couldn't anymore, until I collapsed on the grass in the infield, chest heaving, staring up at the stars. One of Jennifer Wallace's friends had mentioned something to her last week, passed it along casually. Claire's book club group wasn't as unified as Claire thought. Some of the women had noticed the lies, the inconsistencies, the way Claire's stories didn't quite add up. Word was spreading, quiet whispers, concerned glances, the community starting to notice what Claire thought she'd hidden so well. I lay there in the grass and felt it all. The betrayal, the calculation, the cold, strategic choices Claire was making while I made pancakes and held our daughter after nightmares, and documented every moment of presence that would eventually prove I'd been the parent who stayed. I am large, I whispered to the dark sky. I contain multitudes. I contained the grief. And I contained the plan. I contained the devastation of knowing my marriage was over. And I contained the absolute certainty that I would win the only race that mattered, the one where my children's stability and truth were the finish line. I stood up, walked back to my car, drove home to the guest room where I'd sleep alone while Claire texted Julian in the bedroom down the hall. 9 days until the championship meet. 9 days until Claire thought her timeline would begin. She had no idea I'd already crossed that starting line without her. Saturday morning. Claire was packing a bag in our bedroom, her bedroom, while I made breakfast for the kids downstairs. "Daddy, where's Mommy going?" Sam asked, mouth full of cereal. "She's going on a trip with her friends, just for the weekend. She'll be back tomorrow night." Lily looked up from her bowl. "Which friends?" "Sarah and some of the other book club ladies. They're going to a cabin in the mountains." "Can we go to a cabin sometime?" Sam asked. "Absolutely. We'll plan a trip. Just the 3 of us. Maybe in the spring when the weather's better." Claire came down the stairs with her overnight bag. She was wearing jeans and a nice sweater. Hair done, makeup on. She looked excited, nervous. Like she was about to do something she'd been looking forward to for a long time. Which, I guess she was. "Okay, I'm heading out," she said, kissing both kids quickly. "Be good for Daddy. I'll call you tonight before bed." "Have fun," I said, not looking up from my coffee. She paused at the door. "Ethan, are you okay? You seem distant." "Just tired. Track season always wears me out this close to the championship. You know how it is." "Right. Yeah." She hesitated like she wanted to say something else, then didn't. "Okay. I love you guys." The door closed. Her car started. Disappeared down the street. I pulled out my phone. Opened Find My. Watched the dot that represented my wife head east. Not toward any mountain cabin. Toward that address I'd memorized. Julian's townhouse. I opened my laptop. Started searching. Community photography exhibit and tourism board. And there it was. Downtown gallery. Opening reception today at 2 o'clock. Celebrating our community. A photographic journey by Julian Torres. Perfect. "All right, who wants to go look at some photographs?" I asked the kids after lunch. "What kind of photographs?" Lily asked. "Pictures of our town, the places we know. The photographer did a big project for the tourism board showing off all the cool spots around here. I thought it might be fun to see if we recognize any of the locations." "Will there be a gift shop?" Sam wanted to know. "Probably. We can look around." We got in the car. I dressed them both nicely. Lily in her favorite dress. Sam in his button-up shirt he only wore for special occasions. We looked like the picture-perfect family. The supportive dad taking his kids to appreciate local art. The gallery was downtown in one of those renovated historic buildings. Glass windows, exposed brick. The kind of space that tried very hard to look effortless and artistic. I held both kids' hands as we walked in, and there she was. Claire was standing near the back of the gallery, wine glass in hand, talking to a small group of people. She was laughing at something someone said. Relaxed. Happy. Then she saw us. Her face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds. Shock, panic, confusion, forced smile, strategic calculation. She excused herself from her group and walked over. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "We saw the exhibit was open today. Thought the kids might enjoy seeing photographs of places they recognize." "You know how Lily loves art." I smiled. Casual, easy. "Didn't you say you were going to the mountains?" "I am. We are. We're leaving in an hour. Sarah wanted to stop by here first. Support local artists. You know how she is." The lie came smoothly, but I could see her mind racing, calculating, adjusting. "That's nice. Where is Sarah?" Claire gestured vaguely toward a group of women on the other side of the gallery. "Over there somewhere. She's talking to the curator." I looked. Sarah was not in that group. Sarah was not in the gallery at all. "Daddy, can we look at the pictures?" Lily tugged on my hand. "Of course, sweetie. Let's walk around." I took the kids' hands and started moving through the exhibit. Claire followed us, trapped. She couldn't leave without making it obvious. Couldn't send us away without making a scene. Had to just stand there and pretend everything was normal, while her 2 worlds collided. The photographs were good. I'd give Julian that. He had an eye for composition, light and shadow, the bridge at sunset, the farmer's market in morning fog, the old courthouse with its columns. Then I saw it, a photograph near the back. "Private moments in public spaces," the placard said. It showed a townhouse porch, autumn leaves, a door painted dark blue, and in the background, barely visible, a driveway, a specific pattern of brick pavers. The same driveway I'd sat outside of in my car. The same driveway where I'd watched Claire kiss Julian. He'd photographed his own home. Put their private space in a public exhibit, evidence of their world bleeding into the community gallery where anyone could see it. I stood there looking at that photograph for a long time. Long enough that Claire noticed. Long enough that she came over. "Ethan?" "Interesting composition," I said quietly so the kids wouldn't hear. "The way the late afternoon light hits that particular driveway, very specific, very recognizable." She went pale. Before she could respond, a voice behind us said, "Thank you. That's one of my favorites from the series." We both turned. Julian Torres stood there, tall, athletic, probably late 30s, wearing dark jeans and a button-down shirt. Handsome in that effortless way some people are. He had a wine glass in his hand and an easy smile on his face, until he really looked at me, until he saw my face, until he understood who I was. The smile faltered. just for a second, but I saw it. "Julian," Claire said, her voice too bright. "This is my husband, Ethan, and our kids, Lily and Sam. Ethan, this is Julian Torres. He did the tourism campaign I've been helping with." "Nice to meet you," I said, extending my hand. My voice was calm, friendly, normal. He shook it. His palm was sweating. "Your work is impressive," I continued, gesturing to the photographs around us. "You have a real talent for capturing private moments, making them feel intimate, personal, like you're letting viewers into someone's actual life." "Thank you," he said. He was looking at me carefully now, trying to read me, trying to figure out what I knew. "Daddy, I'm hungry," Sam said, tugging on my shirt. "We'll get a snack in a minute, buddy." I looked at Julian. "That photograph there, the one with the townhouse porch, is that your place?" Claire made a small sound, almost a gasp, but not quite. "It is, actually," Julian said. He was trying to maintain composure, but I could see it cracking. "I live in the Morrison Heights development. Thought it would be interesting to include my own neighborhood in a series about community spaces." "Morrison Heights," I repeated. "That's a nice area. East Side, right? Near the park with the playground that has the blue slide?" "Yeah, exactly." "We should take the kids there sometime, Claire. It's not far. We could make an afternoon of it, pack a lunch, explore a new neighborhood." Claire looked like she might be sick. "Well," Julian said, stepping back slightly, "I should circulate. Thank you for coming. It means a lot to have community support." He walked away quickly, not quite running, but close. I turned to Claire, kept my voice low, kept my face neutral, but let her see my eyes. Let her see that I knew everything. "This is a beautiful exhibit. I'm glad we came. The kids are really enjoying it, aren't you guys?" Lily nodded. Sam was already wandering toward another photograph. "But I think we'll head out now. Let you get back to your friends. Your trip to the mountains with Sarah, who definitely seems to be here somewhere even though I can't see her. Ethan, have a wonderful weekend, Claire. We'll see you tomorrow night. The kids will want to hear all about the cabin, about the mountains, about all those fun book club adventures." I took Lily and Sam's hands, walked toward the exit, calm, steady. The perfect supportive dad who'd brought his kids to look at local art on a Saturday afternoon. Behind me, I heard Claire's breath catch, heard her trying to figure out what just happened, what I knew, what I was planning to do. But I didn't look back. I just walked out with my kids, got in the car, and drove home. That evening, after dinner and baths and all the normal rhythms of a Saturday night, I tucked Lily into bed. "Did you like the photographs today?" I asked, smoothing her hair. "They were okay. I liked the one of the covered bridge. Remember when we went there and you taught me how to skip rocks?" "I remember. We'll go back soon. Before it gets too cold." She pulled her elephant closer. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby. That man at the gallery. The one who took the pictures. He seemed nervous when he talked to you. My 7-year-old daughter. Too smart. Too observant. Sometimes people get nervous when they meet new people, especially at their own exhibit. He probably wanted to make a good impression. It felt like more than that." I sat on the edge of her bed, looked at her looking at me. "Lily, I need you to know something. No matter what happens in the next few weeks, no matter what changes or what feels scary or confusing, we're going to run the next part of the trail together. All three of us. You and me and Sam. We're a team, and teams stick together, okay? Is something going to change? Some things might feel different for a while, but the most important thing, the thing that will never change, is that I love you and your brother more than anything in the world. And I will always, always be here. Every single day. That's a promise." She reached out and squeezed my hand. "Okay. Okay. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow we're going to make those chocolate chip cookies you've been asking about. With the sea salt on top. With the sea salt on top." She smiled, closed her eyes, still holding my hand. I sat there until her breathing evened out, until she was fully asleep. Then I went downstairs to the guest room, pulled out my notebook, started writing. Saturday, 8:34 p.m., attended community photography exhibit where Julian Torres's work was displayed. Claire present despite claiming to be leaving for girls' weekend with Sarah. Sarah was not present. Julian, visibly uncomfortable during brief introduction. One photograph on display shows exterior of Julian's townhouse, including recognizable driveway, evidence of their private relationship in public exhibition. Claire's reaction to my observations and questions indicates growing awareness that I know more than I've revealed. Public encounters successful. Forced Claire to manage appearance. Reinforced to community members present that I am engaged, father. Created visible discomfort for both Claire and Julian. I closed the notebook. Put it back in the hidden compartment. 7 days until the championship meet. 7 days until Claire thought she'd finally tell me the truth. But I'd just shown her something more important. I'd shown her that I could appear anywhere, that her two worlds weren't as separate as she thought, that the man she was trying to manage and schedule around was watching, documenting, understanding everything. And most importantly, I'd shown Julian that I existed, that I wasn't some abstract obstacle to navigate. I was Lily and Sam's father. I was present. I was paying attention. Let them both sit with that this weekend while Claire pretended to be in a cabin and actually spent the time at Julian's townhouse. Let them wonder what I knew, what I was planning, what I would do next. I wasn't destroying anyone yet. I was just letting them see the truth starting to emerge, like a photograph developing in a dark room, slowly, inevitably, until the image became undeniable. Saturday morning. Claire's car pulled out of the driveway at 9 sharp, overnight bag in the trunk, her face carefully composed into that bright excitement she'd been practicing all week. I watched from the living room window, waited until she turned the corner. Then I pulled out my phone. Find My showed her heading east, not toward the mountains, not toward any cabin rental area, toward that neighborhood I'd memorized, toward Morrison Heights, toward Julian's townhouse. I stood there for a full minute, watching the blue dot move along streets I could picture perfectly. Every turn, every light, the exact route to that brick driveway where I'd watched them kiss. Lily came up beside me. "Daddy, what are you looking at?" I closed the phone, smiled down at her. "Just checking the weather, sweetheart. Looks like it might rain later." "Can we still go to the park?" "Absolutely. Let me just take care of something first. Why don't you and Sam pick out a movie? I'll be back in a couple hours." 2 hours was generous. What I needed to do wouldn't take that long. I drove to the school first, grabbed one of Lily's art projects from my classroom, a papier-mâché elephant she'd made during the after-school program last week. I told her I'd bring it home. Perfect excuse, perfect prop. Then I drove east. Morrison Heights at midday was quiet. Tree-lined streets, nice cars and driveways, the kind of neighborhood where people paid extra for privacy and tasteful distance from their neighbors. Julian's townhouse sat at the end of a cul-de-sac. Claire's car was parked in the driveway, right there, visible, like she'd stopped being careful, like she thought the track season ending meant she didn't have to hide anymore. I parked on the street, got out, walked up to the front door carrying Lily's elephant like I belonged there. I didn't knock. I called Claire's phone instead. She answered on the third ring. "Ethan, what's wrong? Are the kids okay?" "Kids are fine. They're with Jennifer Wallace. I told her I had an emergency errand." My voice was calm, steady. "I'm outside. We need to talk." Silence. Then, quietly. "Outside where?" "Julian's front door, Morrison Heights. Nice neighborhood. I can see why you like it here." I heard her breath catch, heard movement, whispered conversation I couldn't make out. "I have Lily's elephant from school, the one she's been asking about. Thought I'd drop it off at the cabin on my way to run some errands, except there's no cabin, is there, Claire? Just this townhouse, just Julian, just a year of lies that ends right now." The door opened. Claire stood there wearing jeans and one of Julian's sweatshirts. Her hair was down. She looked younger somehow, lighter. The way she used to look before we had kids, before responsibility, before me. "Ethan, get in the car." I gestured to my vehicle on the street. "We're having this conversation away from him, unless you want to do it right here on his porch where the neighbors can hear." She glanced back inside, then nodded, grabbed her jacket, walked past me without meeting my eyes. We sat in my car, engine off, windows up. The elephant sculpture sat on the back seat like a silent witness. "How long have you known?" she asked finally. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me. I found the messages 3 weeks ago, the iPad, but I've been watching you pull away for over a year. I just didn't want to believe what I was seeing." She looked down at her hands. "I never wanted to hurt you, but you did it anyway. For a year. While I made breakfast and coached kids and tucked our children into bed, you were planning an exit strategy around my track schedule like I was just some obstacle to manage." I kept my voice level, calm. The way I coached, the way I'd practiced this conversation in my head every night for 3 weeks. I read everything, Claire, every message, every plan, every conversation about introducing Julian to Lily and Sam, about custody arrangements, about minimal disruption, like our children's lives are some corporate restructuring project. "You don't understand. Then explain it. Right now. No more lies. No more book clubs or girls' weekends or any of the other bullshit stories you've been feeding me. Explain how you justify sleeping with a man while your husband is reading bedtime stories to your kids." She was crying now, real tears, the first genuine emotion I'd seen from her in months. "I felt invisible," she said. Her voice cracked. "You were so focused on the team, on the kids, on being the perfect dad and perfect coach, and I just disappeared. I became the logistics manager, the person who handled schedules and grocery lists and laundry. Julian saw me, as a person, as something more than just mom or the woman who makes sure everyone else's life runs smoothly." "So you had an affair." "It started as just talking, coffee after meetings. Then it became more. And by the time I realized what was happening, I was already in too deep. I couldn't figure out how to get out without destroying everything. So you decided to destroy it on your own timeline instead. After the track season, when it was convenient for you. I was trying to be considerate." "Considerate?" I turned to look at her directly. "Claire, our 7-year-old daughter has nightmares about being abandoned. She asks me why you go to book club so much, why you sound happy-sad on the phone. She's already carrying your choices, and she doesn't even understand what they mean yet. Sam still thinks the world is safe because his parents tell him it is. And you were planning to upend all of that because you felt invisible? It's not that simple. It actually is. You made a choice. Every single day for over a year, you chose Julian over us, over Lily and Sam, over the marriage you promised to protect. You don't get to blame me for being present with our kids. You don't get to make me the villain because I took my responsibilities seriously." She was sobbing now, hands over her face, shoulders shaking. "I know about Julian's business," I continued. "The defaulted loans, the pattern of intense relationships that end badly, the financial chaos. This is who you were planning to introduce to our children. A man who can't keep his own life stable but was going to help you transition Lily and Sam into a new family structure. How did you? It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that I have documented everything, every lie, every location, every moment I was present while you were planning to leave. And I have made sure that when the truth comes out, and it will come out, Claire, one way or another, there will be no confusion about who protected those kids and who abandoned them. What are you going to do?" I looked at her. Really looked. Tried to find the woman I'd married in this stranger sitting beside me. "That depends on you. You have 2 choices. 1, you end all contact with Julian. Today, right now. You focus everything you have on trying to repair the damage you've caused. You accept that you broke this. You stop blaming me for your choices. And maybe, we figure out how to co-parent with some dignity intact. And the other choice? The other choice is I file for primary custody on Monday. I present every piece of evidence I have, every message, every lie, every moment you chose Julian over Lily and Sam. I make sure the court understands that I am the stable parent, the present parent, the one who showed up every single day while you were planning your exit. You would really do that? For them? Yes, without hesitation. I will not let you rewrite history. I will not let you tell our children some version of the story where their father wasn't enough or didn't try. They already have one father who shows up, Claire. They don't need Julian. They need you to be their mother again. She sat there, crying, shaking, the weight of it finally hitting her. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Sorry isn't a choice. It's just words. The choices are, end it now and we try to fix what you broke, or don't end it, and I protect our kids the only way I know how. You decide. Right now." She looked at me, then at Julian's townhouse, then back at me. "I'll end it," she said. "I'll tell him it's over." "Good. Then go do it. I'll wait here. And Claire?" I pulled out my phone, showed her the screen. "I'm documenting this conversation too, just so we're clear about what was said, what was promised. No more confusion, no more lies." She got out of the car, walked back to Julian's door, disappeared inside. I sat there holding Lily's papier-mâché elephant, waiting, watching. The first real crack in Claire's carefully constructed exit plan, now visible for both of us to see. 10 minutes later, she came back out, got in the car, didn't say anything. I started the engine, drove us home. The silence between us was different now, heavier, more final. The race had changed, the finish line had moved, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The drive home from Julian's townhouse took 20 minutes. Claire didn't say a word, didn't look at me, just stared out the window like she was trying to memorize the route back to our old life before everything shattered. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally spoke. "What happens now?" "Now you figure out how to be their mother again," I said. "You show up, you stay present, you stop planning exits and start planning how to earn back the trust you destroyed. And you do it knowing I'm watching, documenting, making sure you keep the promise you just made." She nodded slowly, got out of the car, walked inside without looking back. I sat there for another minute, holding Lily's papier-mâché elephant, feeling the weight of what I'd just done, the confrontation I'd engineered, the ultimatum I'd delivered, the line I'd crossed from passive husband to something else entirely. Then, I picked up my phone, opened the hidden folder, started typing. Saturday, 1:47 p.m., confronted Claire at Julian's townhouse. She admitted affair, claimed it started as emotional validation, made multiple justifications about feeling invisible. When pressed with evidence and custody consequences, agreed to end relationship with Julian. Appeared genuine in moment, but body language suggests ongoing calculation. Will continue monitoring. Monday morning, I stood at the track, watching the team warm up. 5 days until the championship. 5 days until Claire thought her deadline would arrive. Except the deadline had already passed. She just didn't know it yet. "All right, listen up," I called out, gathering the runners around me. "We're in the final stretch now. Everything we've trained for comes down to Saturday. But here's what I want you to remember. The race isn't won in the last 100 meters. It's won in every single lap you ran when nobody was watching. Every morning you showed up tired. Every interval you finished when your legs were screaming. That's where victory lives. In the consistency. In the integrity of showing up even when it's hard." Marcus Jenkins was looking at me with that expression kids get when they sense you're talking about more than running. "Coach, you okay?" he asked after I dismissed them to start their workout. "Yeah, Marcus. Just thinking about how the hardest races are the ones we run for other people. The ones where giving up isn't an option because someone's counting on us." He nodded slowly. "Like your kids?" "Smart kid. Too smart. Exactly like my kids." That afternoon, Jennifer Wallace caught me in the parking lot. "Ethan, can I talk to you for a second?" She looked uncomfortable, kept glancing around like she didn't want to be overheard. "I heard something from Sarah Mitchell, from the book club group." My stomach tightened. "Yeah?" She said Claire's been difficult lately, missed the last 2 meetings without explanation. And apparently, there was some confusion about this weekend's trip because nobody else was planning to go anywhere. Sarah covered for her when you asked, but she felt really uncomfortable about it. "I appreciate you telling me," I said, kept my voice neutral, factual. "Is everything okay?" With you two? We're working through some things, but the kids are my priority, making sure they have stability no matter what happens between Claire and me. She nodded. If you need anything, references for lawyers or counselors or whatever. My sister went through a divorce 2 years ago. It's hard, but she got through it focusing on her kids, just like you're doing. After she walked away, I sat in my car and added another note to the documentation. The community was noticing. The careful structure Claire had built, the book club alibi, the concerned wife performance, the story of the stable marriage, was cracking in multiple places at once. Tuesday night, around 11, I heard footsteps in the hallway outside the guest room. A soft knock. Ethan, Claire's voice, tentative. Can I come in? I opened the door. She was in her pajamas, hair loose, eyes red. I can't sleep, she said. I keep thinking about everything, about what I did, what I almost did. I need you to know I meant it. When I told Julian it was over, I really ended it. And I want to try to fix this, to be better, for Lily and Sam, for us. She reached out like she was going to touch my arm, then pulled back. I know you don't trust me. I know I have to earn that back. But I'm asking for the chance. Please. I looked at her, studied her face, trying to separate genuine remorse from strategic performance. Claire, I've spent 3 weeks watching you lie to my face while planning to leave. I've held our daughter after nightmares you caused. I've documented every inconsistency, every location, every moment you chose Julian over your family. So when you ask for a chance, understand what you're really asking for. You're asking me to believe that 5 days of remorse erases a year of calculated deception. I know how bad it is. But people can change. People can change when they hit bottom. When consequences become real instead of theoretical. You didn't change because you felt guilty. You changed because I caught you. Because I showed up at Julian's door with evidence and ultimatums. That's not transformation, Claire. That's damage control. She was crying now, full sobs. Then what do I do? How do I prove it to you? You show up every day. You prioritize those kids over your own comfort. You accept that I'm going to verify everything you say and monitor everything you do until you've rebuilt even a fraction of the trust you destroyed. And you understand that this, I gestured between us, this marriage might be over regardless. Because some things break in ways that can't be fixed. But Lily and Sam deserve a mother who's present, so you be that. Not for me, for them. She nodded, wiped her face. Okay, I can do that. I will do that. Good, now go to bed. We both have work tomorrow. She left. I closed the door, sat on the edge of the guest bed, and added another entry to the timeline. Tuesday, 11:23 p.m., Claire initiated conversation claiming remorse and desire to repair. Appeared emotionally genuine, but timing remains suspicious. 5 days before championship, immediately after confrontation. Maintained boundary, emphasized accountability, and child-focused priorities. Will continue observation. Wednesday evening, I was at the kitchen table grading papers when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Hale, this is Patricia Chen from the Community Arts Council. Julian Torres mentioned you might be interested in volunteering for our spring photography project at the elementary school. We're always looking for parent volunteers, and since Lily attends... Who gave you my number? I kept my voice pleasant. Professional. Oh, Julian did. He said you two met at his exhibit and expressed interest in getting more involved with arts education. I appreciate the outreach, Patricia, but I'm not interested. And I'd prefer if Julian didn't share my contact information with organizations without asking me first. Pause. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll make a note. Again, my apologies. I hung up, stared at the phone. Julian was probing, testing boundaries, seeing if he still had access through community channels, seeing if Claire had really ended things or if she was just going underground. I texted Claire immediately. Julian had someone from Arts Council call me about volunteering. Said you two met at exhibit and I expressed interest. What's going on? 3 minutes later. I have no idea. I haven't talked to him since Saturday, I swear. If he contacts you in any way, you tell me immediately. Any contact, even indirect. That was the deal. I will. I promise. I took a screenshot of the exchange, added it to the documentation. Then I opened my laptop and started drafting an email to the school district's volunteer coordinator, flagging that I preferred not to work with Julian Torres on any school-related projects due to personal reasons, creating another paper trail, another boundary, another piece of evidence that I was protecting my children from a man Claire had tried to bring into their lives. Thursday night, Lily woke up screaming again. I was in her room before the second scream ended. She was sitting up in bed, crying. Her elephant clutched so tight her knuckles were white. "Daddy? Is Mommy leaving? Like Aiden's mom left? And Emma's dad?" There it was. The question I'd been dreading, direct, unfiltered. 7 years old and already understanding more than I'd hoped she would. I sat on the edge of her bed, pulled her close. "Lily, I need to tell you something true. Sometimes families change. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt each other. And yes, sometimes that means parents don't live together anymore. But here's what I promise you. No matter what happens between Mommy and me, both of us love you and Sam. Both of us are your parents forever. That doesn't change." "But why would she leave? Did we do something wrong?" "No, baby. No. You and Sam are perfect. This has nothing to do with you. Sometimes grown-ups stop being good at being married to each other, but that doesn't mean they stop being good at being parents. You understand? Will you leave too?" "Never. I will never leave you. Not for any reason. You are stuck with me forever, whether you like it or not." She managed a small smile through her tears. "I like it. Good. Now here's what's going to happen. Mommy and I are going to figure out what our family looks like next. It might look different than it does right now. But you and Sam will always be safe, always be loved. And we'll face it together, all of us, okay? Together," she repeated, like she was memorizing it, making it real. I stayed with her until she fell back asleep. Then I went downstairs to the guest room and sat in the dark for a long time. Claire had done this, her choices, her year of planning, her careful timeline that was supposed to protect the children, but had actually made everything worse. Because kids sense everything. They feel the fractures before the adults even admit they exist. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice memo app, started recording. Thursday, 10:52 p.m. Lily asked directly if Claire is leaving. Asked if she did something wrong. 7 years old and carrying guilt for adult dysfunction. Provided age-appropriate honesty about family changes while reinforcing stability and love. This is documented evidence of emotional impact on children caused by Claire's extended deception and exit planning. Lily should never have had to ask that question. I saved the recording, backed it up, added the timestamp to the physical timeline hidden in my coaching bag. Friday afternoon, the team practiced interval training. I stood at the track watching them push through pain, watching them dig deep when their bodies wanted to quit. And I felt it again. That parallel between running and life. Between racing and surviving. Between finishing strong and simply finishing at all. "One more lap," I shouted. "Give me everything you've got. Show me what you're made of when it hurts." They ran. Every single one of them. Some faster than others, some with better form, but all of them crossing that line because giving up wasn't an option. After practice, I stayed late. Ran my own intervals. Hard ones. Sprint the straightaways until your vision narrows. Jog the curves until your breathing steadies, then sprint again. Push until the physical pain drowns out the emotional weight. "I am large," I whispered between intervals, hands on my knees, chest heaving. "I contain multitudes." I contained the father comforting his daughter after nightmares. I contained the strategic man documenting every detail for legal protection. I contained the grief of a marriage ending and the certainty that I'd done everything right. I contained love and rage and necessity and exhaustion. All of it. Simultaneously. The weight of being the adult who has to hold everything together while watching it fall apart. Saturday morning. Championship meet in 8 hours. I made pancakes for the kids. Claire came down early, tried to help, but I'd already finished. "Ethan, I want to come to the meet today, support you, be there for the team." You should be there. The kids want to see you there. "And you? Do you want me there?" I looked at her. What I want doesn't matter anymore. What matters is showing Lily and Sam that even when things are hard between us, we can both show up for them. So yes, Come to the meet. Be present. Be their mother. That's all I'm asking. The doorbell rang. I frowned. It was barely 8 in the morning. I opened the door to find David Chen, our lawyer, standing on the porch with a file folder. David, what are you... I finished the preliminary review you asked for, the custody assessment. Given the timeline of your meet today, I thought you might want to see it before any conversations happen this weekend. He glanced past me, saw Claire in the kitchen. Or I can come back. No, it's fine. Let's talk in my car. We sat in the driveway, engine off, while he walked me through the documentation. The strength of my case, the evidence patterns, the legal framework for primary custody based on stability and presence. Ethan, if it comes to this, and I'm not saying it will, but if it does, you're in a very strong position. The documentation you've provided shows consistent presence, emotional stability, and prioritization of the children's welfare. Combined with the evidence of extended deception and planned exit strategy, most judges would view you as the more stable custodial parent. I don't want to destroy her, David. I just want to protect them. I know. But sometimes protecting them means being willing to fight when necessary. You've done that. You've built the case without anger or retaliation. Just facts and presence. That matters. He left. I sat in the driveway for another few minutes, file folder on my lap, watching my house where my children were eating pancakes and my wife was pretending everything was normal. Tonight, after the meet, after the race that was supposed to be Claire's deadline, that's when everything would finally come to a head. But right now, I had a team to coach. Kids who were counting on me. A race to run with integrity regardless of what was falling apart in my personal life. I got out of the car, walked back inside, smiled at my children. All right. Who's ready to watch some fast running today? The race wasn't over, but the final lap was coming, and I was ready. The championship meet was at Riverside Park. 3 schools, 18 teams. Parents lined the course with folding chairs and thermoses of coffee. The air smelled like cut grass and nervous energy. I stood with my team near the starting line, clipboard in hand, watching them stretch and shake out their legs. Marcus Jenkins caught my eye and nodded. Ready. All right, listen to me, I said, gathering them close. My voice was calm, steady, the voice I'd been practicing for 3 weeks. Today isn't about being perfect. It's not about running someone else's race or proving anything to anyone except yourself. Today is about integrity, about finishing what you started, about showing up when it matters and running the race you trained for, not the one you wish you'd trained for. They were listening, really listening. Because they could sense something underneath the words, something heavier than a district championship. Some of you are going to hit the wall at mile 2. Your legs are going to tell you to stop. Your lungs are going to scream. And that's when you'll find out who you really are. Not in the easy miles, in the hard ones, in the moments when giving up would be so much simpler than pushing through. That's where character lives, in the decision to keep running even when everything hurts. I paused. Let them see my face. Let them understand I wasn't just talking about cross-country. Now, get out there and run your race. The one with your name on it, nobody else's. They broke apart, heading to their positions. I walked back toward the spectator area where I'd told Claire to meet me with the kids. She was there, standing near the team tent with Lily and Sam. She looked tired, nervous, like she'd been waiting for something inevitable to finally arrive. Then I saw him, Julian Torres, standing 20 feet away from Claire, pretending to watch the warm-ups, pretending he had a reason to be here at a high school cross-country meet where he knew nobody except the woman he'd been sleeping with for over a year. My chest tightened, my hands clenched, but my face stayed calm. I walked over to Claire, smiled at the kids. Hey guys, you ready to cheer? Yeah, Sam shouted, bouncing on his toes. Lily was quieter, watching me, reading something in my expression. Daddy, are you okay? I'm perfect, sweetheart. I kissed the top of her head. Then I looked at Claire. Can I talk to you for a minute? Privately? She glanced at Julian, then back at me. Sure. Lily, watch your brother for a second, okay? We walked away from the crowd, toward the tree line where the course disappeared into the woods, close enough that people could see us, far enough that they couldn't hear. Why is he here? I asked. My voice was still calm, still controlled, but there was steel underneath now. I don't know. I didn't invite him. I haven't talked to him since Saturday, I swear. Don't lie to me anymore, Claire. Not today, not here. Not in front of our children and everyone we know. I pulled out my phone, showed her the screenshot I'd taken this morning, a text from Julian's number to hers, sent last night at 11:47 p.m. Want to come watch the championship tomorrow? See you there. Her face went white. You responded at 11:52. I'll be there with the kids. Please don't make a scene. So let me ask you again, why is he here? Ethan, I was trying to handle it. I was trying to make sure he didn't cause problems by inviting him to the one place where everyone we know would see him, to our children's event, to my team's championship. That's how you handle it? I was going to tell him to leave. I was going to... Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I'm done listening to what you were going to do. I'm done with promises and plans and timelines. We're going to finish this right now, right here. Because you wanted to rewrite the ending after the track season. Well, the season ends today. She started crying. Please, not here. Not in front of everyone. Can we just go home and... No, because going home and talking is how you've been managing this for a year. Delaying, strategizing, planning your exit while I held our family together. But I'm not giving you more time to spin another story. I'm not letting you control the narrative anymore. I gestured toward Julian, still standing near the tent, trying to look casual. Do you see him? Standing there pretending he belongs here? He doesn't belong here, Claire. He never did. These are our kids. This is our community. These are the people we see at parent-teacher conferences and grocery stores and school plays. And you were planning to introduce them to the man you were having an affair with, to tell Lily and Sam that Daddy wasn't enough, so Mommy found someone better, to rewrite 12 years of marriage into some story where I was the one who failed. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? My voice was still quiet, but harder now. Lily wakes up screaming because she thinks we're both going to leave her. Sam still believes the world is safe because his parents tell him it is. And you were counting down the days until you could blow their lives apart on your own convenient timeline. So don't talk to me about fair. She was sobbing now, hands over her face. People were starting to notice. Jennifer Wallace was looking our way. Rebecca Morrison. Other parents beginning to sense something happening. I have documentation of everything, I continued. Every message, every lie, every location. I've already met with a lawyer. I have a custody assessment that shows I'm the stable parent, the present parent, the one who prioritized those kids while you were planning your exit. I have evidence of Julian's financial problems, his pattern of failed relationships, his history of abandoning commitments when things get hard. I know everything, Claire, all of it. What are you going to do? Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm going to protect our children. That's what I've been doing for 3 weeks, while you thought I was clueless. While you were texting Julian and planning weekends and using Sarah as your alibi. I was building a case, not to destroy you, not for revenge, just to make sure that when the truth came out, there would be no confusion about who was there and who was planning to leave. I looked past her at Julian. He'd noticed us talking, noticed the intensity. He was starting to look uncomfortable. Go tell him to leave, I said to Claire. Right now. Go tell him he doesn't get to be part of this. That he doesn't get to watch our children or stand in our community or pretend he has any place in this family's life. You end it. Publicly. Right now, or I walk over there and do it for you. Ethan, please. Now, Claire. She walked toward him, slowly, like she was walking to her own execution. I watched from the tree line as she reached him, as she spoke quietly but urgently, as his face changed from confusion to anger to something that might have been fear, as she gestured for him to leave, as he looked past her at me, standing there watching, and understood that whatever game he thought he was playing was over. He left, walked to the parking lot without looking back, got in his car, drove away. Claire came back to me. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. It's done, she said. He's gone. Are you satisfied? Satisfied? No, but it's a start. I pulled out my phone again, showed her another screenshot. David Chen's email from this morning. The custody framework, the legal strategy, the evidence summary. This is what happens next. We're going to co-parent. We're going to prioritize those kids over everything else. We're going to make sure they have stability, even if our marriage doesn't survive this. And if you fight me, if you try to spin some story where you're the victim and I'm the villain, if you try to bring Julian back into their lives in any way, I use all of this, every piece of evidence, every documented lie, and I make sure the court knows exactly who was present and who abandoned them. She stared at the phone, at the evidence of how thoroughly I'd outmaneuvered her, at the year of planning and deception, distilled down into legal documents that would protect Lily and Sam regardless of what happened between us. I never wanted it to be like this, she whispered. Then you shouldn't have made the choices you made. You shouldn't have lied for a year. You shouldn't have put our children through nightmares and anxiety and fear because you felt invisible. You made this, Claire. Every bit of it. I'm just making sure they don't pay for your choices more than they already have. The starting gun fired. The race had begun. I could hear the crowd cheering, could see my runners taking off, pushing toward that first turn. I have to go coach, I said. You stay with the kids. You cheer for them. You be their mother. And tonight, when this is over, we're going to sit down and figure out what co-parenting looks like. Not because I forgive you, not because this marriage is salvageable, but because those kids deserve better than what you were planning to give them. I walked back to the course, found my position at the 2-mile marker, watched my team push through the hard middle miles, the ones where quitting would be easier than finishing. Marcus Jenkins came around the bend, struggling but still running. I ran alongside him for a few strides. You've got this, Marcus. This is your race. Nobody else's. Finish strong. He found something. Some reserve of strength. Pushed harder. Kept running. I watched him disappear around the next turn and felt it all at once. The grief, the clarity, the weight of having done what needed to be done, even though it hurt. Some races have to be run to the finish, even when your legs are screaming. Even when everything inside you wants to stop. You run them anyway, because someone's counting on you. Because giving up isn't an option. Because that's what integrity means. The race finished. My team placed second. Good enough. Better than good enough. They'd run with everything they had. I gathered them together one last time. Looked at their exhausted, smiling faces. I'm proud of you, I said. Not because of where you placed, because of how you ran. With heart, with courage, with integrity. That's what matters. That's what you take with you. They broke apart, heading to their families. Claire was waiting near the parking lot with Lily and Sam. Julian was gone. The championship was over. The season had ended, just like I'd told her it would. The drive home from the meet was silent. Claire sat in the passenger seat staring out the window while Lily and Sam chatted in the back about the races they'd watched. I kept my hand steady on the wheel, my eyes on the road, my mind already 3 moves ahead. When we pulled into the driveway, I said to the kids, "Why don't you two go play in the backyard for a bit? Mom and I need to talk about some grown-up stuff." "Is it bad stuff?" Lily asked, her voice small. I turned around to look at her. "It's important stuff. But remember what I told you? No matter what happens, I'm right here. Always." She nodded slowly. Sam was already unbuckling his seatbelt, oblivious. Once they were outside, I turned to Claire. "David Chen is coming over in an hour. You remember David? Our family lawyer?" Her face went pale. "Ethan, please, can we just talk first? Just us?" "We've been just talking for a year, Claire. While you were planning your exit, while you were texting Julian about custody arrangements and transition timelines. So, no, we're done with just talking. Now we do this properly." "You're really going to do this? Bring a lawyer into our home in front of the kids?" "The kids won't see him. They'll be at Jennifer Wallace's house. I already arranged it." I got out of the car. "You've got 55 minutes to figure out what you're going to say when he gets here." David arrived exactly on time. Professional, calm, carrying a leather portfolio that probably contained enough documentation to end my marriage in the cleanest, most efficient way possible. We sat at the dining room table. Me, Claire, David between us like a referee. "Claire," David began, his voice measured, "Ethan has shared with me extensive documentation regarding your relationship with Julian Torres. The timeline of communication, the financial planning, the discussions about introducing him to Lily and Sam, Before we proceed, I need to understand your position. Are you contesting any of the facts Ethan has presented? She looked at me, her eyes red. No, it's all true. I made terrible choices. I know that now. Okay. David made a note. Ethan has asked me to present you with two options. The first option is a structured co-parenting agreement where you commit to ending all contact with Mr. Torres, focusing entirely on rebuilding trust with your children, and working within a framework that prioritizes their stability. The second option is a full custody hearing where Ethan will present this evidence. He tapped the portfolio. To establish primary physical custody based on documented patterns of presence and stability. That's not fair, Claire said, her voice breaking. You're backing me into a corner. You're using the kids as leverage. I leaned forward. No, Claire. You used the kids as variables in your exit strategy. You planned around their schedules. You calculated minimal disruption while having an affair. You were going to introduce them to Julian like he was some inevitable upgrade. I'm not using them as leverage. I'm protecting them from more of your fucking timeline management. Ethan, I was going to tell you. After the season ended, I was going to sit down and explain everything, and we were going to figure out... You were going to tell me what? That you felt invisible? That I was too focused on the team? That Julian saw you as a person while I just saw you as a logistics manager? My voice was calm, but harder now. Steel underneath. I read the messages, Claire. All of them. I know every justification you gave him, every complaint about me, every plan you made for after, so don't sit here and tell me what you were going to do. Tell me what you're going to do now, right now, today. She was crying, full sobs. David pulled a tissue box from his bag and slid it across the table. You were never really here emotionally, she said through the tears. You think making pancakes and helping with homework makes you present? You were always thinking about the team, always planning the next practice, always coaching everyone else's kids while ours just got the leftovers of your attention. So yes, I looked somewhere else. I looked for someone who actually saw me. The words hung in the air. David was watching me carefully, probably wondering if I was going to explode. I didn't. January 17th, I said quietly. Lily had the flu. Threw up 3 times that night. I sat with her from midnight until 6 in the morning, held her hair back, changed her sheets twice, read her favorite book until she finally fell asleep. You were at a work dinner. Actually, you were at Julian's townhouse. I have the Find My data. I have the timeline. Claire went very still. February 9th. Sam's preschool called because he fell off the playground equipment. I left practice early, picked him up from the nurse's office, took him to urgent care, held him while they checked for a concussion. You were running errands. Actually, book club. Actually, Julian's place. Again, I have the receipts, I have the timestamps. Ethan, March 22nd, Lily's piano recital. I was there, front row, recorded the whole thing. You were there too, but you left halfway through to take a work call. I watched you walk to your car. I watched you sit there for 20 minutes texting. Want to guess who you were texting? She put her head in her hands. April 6th. Sam had nightmares about monsters. Came to our room 3 times. I walked him back to bed each time, checked his closet, looked under his bed, stayed until he felt safe. You never woke up, but you weren't actually asleep, were you? You were texting Julian about weekend plans while I was protecting our 4-year-old from imaginary monsters. David was taking notes. Every date, every detail, every moment of documented presence while Claire was planning her exit. So when you say I was never really here emotionally, I continued, my voice steady, what you mean is I wasn't giving you attention. I wasn't validating your feelings. I wasn't making you feel seen. And you're right about that, Claire. I was focused on the kids, on being their father, on showing up when they needed me. Because that's what parents do. We prioritize the children over our own need to feel special. She looked up at me, mascara running, face blotchy. I never wanted to hurt them, but you did. Lily has nightmares about us leaving. Sam asks me why Mommy goes to book club so much. They're already carrying the weight of your choices and they don't even know the full truth yet. That's the damage you've done. Not to me. To them. David cleared his throat gently. Claire, I need a decision. Which path are we taking? She looked at the portfolio on the table, at the evidence of her year-long deception, at the timeline that would show any judge exactly who had been present and who had been planning to leave. Option 1, she whispered. I'll end it. Completely. I'll focus on the kids. I'll do whatever it takes. Good, David said, pulling out a document. Then we'll start with this temporary agreement. It outlines expectations, boundaries, and consequences if those boundaries are violated. You'll have 72 hours to review with your own attorney if you choose. But the core terms are non-negotiable. No contact with Julian Torres in any form. Primary physical custody, with Ethan pending further evaluation, structured visitation based on the children's needs, and full transparency regarding your whereabouts when you have parenting time. He slid the papers across to her. She stared at them like they were a death sentence. Sign it, I said quietly. Or don't. But if you don't sign it today, I file for full custody on Monday. And I use everything. Every message. Every lie. Every moment you chose him over them. Your choice, Claire. Right now. Her hand shook as she picked up the pen David offered her. She signed. After David left, Claire sat at the table staring at the copy of the agreement in front of her. I stood by the window watching Lily and Sam play in the backyard, their laughter drifting through the glass. What happens now? She asked, her voice hollow. Now you figure out how to be their mother again. Not the woman who made mistakes. Not the person who had an affair. Just their mom, present, stable, focused on them instead of yourself. And us? Is there any chance for us? I turned to look at her. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Right now, I don't care about us. I care about them. You destroyed the marriage, Claire. Whether it can be rebuilt isn't my priority. Protecting Lily and Sam is. Everything else is secondary. She nodded slowly, tears still streaming down her face. You should go, I said. Jennifer's dropping the kids back here in an hour. When they get home, everything looks normal. We tell them together when the time is right. We do it carefully. We do it focused on their needs. Not yours. Not mine. Theirs. She stood up, gathered her purse, walked to the door, paused. I'm sorry, she said without turning around. Sorry doesn't fix anything. Action does. So go. Figure out who you're going to be next. Because the woman who planned that exit, she doesn't get to be part of their lives. The door closed behind her. I stood there alone in my kitchen, feeling the weight of what I'd just done and the clarity of knowing it was necessary. Outside, Lily was pushing Sam on the swing. Their voices carried through the evening air, light and uncomplicated and safe. I'd run the hardest race of my life. Not for me. For them. And I'd crossed the finish line with the truth intact and my children protected. That was all that mattered. 1 week later, I loaded the kids into the car before sunrise. Lily was half asleep in her jacket, clutching her elephant. Sam was bouncing in his booster seat, asking where we were going every 30 seconds. It's a surprise, I said, pulling onto the highway. But I think you're going to like it. The drive to the Blue Ridge Mountains took 2 hours. By the time we parked at the trailhead, the sun was climbing over the ridgeline, painting everything gold and green. The air smelled like pine and early autumn. We're going hiking? Lily asked, suddenly more awake. We're going hiking, I confirmed, pulling out the backpack I'd packed with snacks and water bottles. New family tradition, first Saturday of every month. Just the three of us. We pick a trail, we walk it together, and we talk about whatever's on our minds. Like your pancake strategy sessions? Lily was watching me carefully. Always watching. Always trying to understand what I wasn't saying out loud. Exactly like that, except with better views. The trail wasn't difficult. A gentle incline through oak and maple, with occasional clearings where you could see the valley below. Sam ran ahead, found a stick, declared it a magic sword. Lily stayed closer to me, quiet. After about 20 minutes, I stopped at a flat rock overlooking the mountains. All right, water break, come sit with me. They settled on either side of me. Below us, the valley stretched out green and endless. Above us, the sky was that perfect blue that only happens in the mountains. So, I said, pulling out the snacks I'd packed, I want to talk to you both about something. About Mommy and me. About, what's happening at home. Lily went very still. Sam was focused on his granola bar. You both know that Mommy and I have been having a hard time lately, that things have felt different. Wobbly, like I said before. I took a breath, chose my words carefully. Here's what I need you to understand. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt each other. Mommy made some choices that hurt our family. She wasn't truthful about some things. She wasn't showing up the way she should have been showing up. And because of that, we're going to be living a little differently. For a while. Is Mommy leaving? Lily's voice was small but direct, 7 years old and cutting straight to the truth. Mommy is going to have her own place for now. You'll still see her. She's still your mom. But I'm going to be the one you live with most of the time. This house, your rooms, your schools. All of that stays the same. The only thing that changes is Mommy won't be there every day the way she used to be. Lily looked down at her hands. Did she stop loving us? The question hit like a punch to the chest, but I'd been preparing for it. Knew it was coming. No, baby, no. She loves you. She loves Sam. That's not what this is about. I pulled her close. Love is complicated. You can love someone and still make choices that hurt them. You can love your kids and still fail at being a good partner to their other parent. Those things can be true at the same time. Mommy's problem wasn't that she stopped loving you. It's that she stopped being honest. She stopped being present. She started putting other things ahead of this family. And when you do that long enough, things break. But you didn't break. Lily was looking up at me now. You're still here. I'm still here. I will always be here. That's the promise I made when you were born. And it's the promise I'm making again right now. No matter what happens with Mommy, no matter what changes, I am running this race with you, both of you, all the way to the finish line and beyond. Sam had stopped eating his granola bar. He was listening now, even if he didn't fully understand. Daddy, are you sad? Yeah, buddy. I'm sad. Some things happened that hurt my feelings. But I'm also okay, because I have you two. And as long as I have you, I can handle being sad for a while. Sad doesn't last forever. It's like when you fall down and scrape your knee. It hurts a lot at first, but you put a Band-Aid on it, you keep walking, and eventually it heals. What's our Band-Aid? Lily asked. This. I gestured to the trail, the mountains, the three of us sitting together. Showing up for each other, being honest, talking about the hard stuff instead of pretending it's not there, running our own race with integrity. That's our Band-Aid. We sat there for a few more minutes. Quiet. The wind moving through the trees. The valley spread out below us like a promise. Then Sam jumped up. Can we keep walking? I want to see what's at the top. Yeah. Let's keep walking. We hiked for another hour. Lily asked more questions. I answered all of them honestly but carefully. Yes. Mommy made mistakes. No, that doesn't mean she's a bad person. Yes, families can change shape and still be families. No, none of this is your fault. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm also going to be okay. Yes, you can be sad and angry too. All of it is allowed. Sam found a salamander under a log. Lily spotted a hawk circling overhead. We stopped for lunch at the summit, sitting on smooth rocks, eating sandwiches I'd made that morning. Daddy? Lily said through a mouthful of peanut butter and jelly. I'm glad you're our dad. I'm glad I'm your dad too, sweetheart. Luckiest job I ever got. On the way back down, something shifted. The kids ran ahead, laughing, racing each other to the next switchback. I watched them go, lighter somehow, still carrying the weight of what I'd told them, but not crushed by it, not broken, just adjusting, adapting, running their own race, and I felt it too. The weight I'd been carrying for 3 weeks, longer really, for months, while I'd been sensing something wrong but not admitting it, that weight was different now. Still there, still heavy, but not suffocating. I'd done what needed to be done. Not perfectly, not without pain, but with integrity, with presence, with the absolute certainty that protecting Lily and Sam was worth every hard conversation, every documented moment, every strategic choice I'd made along the way. Claire had built her exit on deception and timelines. I'd built my response on truth and steady presence. And in the end, presence won. Not because it was easier, because it mattered more. We reached the parking lot as the sun started dropping behind the ridge. Both kids were tired, happy, talking over each other about what they'd seen. I loaded them into the car, buckled them in, handed Sam his stuffed dinosaur from the front seat. "Next month," I said, "we pick a different trail. Deal?" "Deal!" Sam shouted. Lily just smiled, reached forward and squeezed my hand. I drove home with my kids chattering in the back seat and the mountains fading in the rearview mirror. The house would feel different when we got there. Quieter in some ways, fuller in others. Claire's absence would be obvious, but we'd be okay. We'd run this next part of the trail together, one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, because that's what families do when things break. The real ones, the ones built on more than convenient timelines and curated appearances. They show up, they tell the truth, they run the hard races because giving up isn't an option when someone's counting on you. "I am large," I whispered to myself, too quiet for the kids to hear. "I contain multitudes." I contained the grief of a marriage ending and the joy of watching my children heal. I contained the anger at what Claire had done and the hope for what came next. I contained the man I'd been, the conflict avoider, the passive husband, and the man I'd become. The father who would run any race, face any pain, document any truth to protect the people who mattered most. Some races you win by finishing. Some you win just by refusing to quit. I'd run the longest, hardest race of my life these past few weeks, and I'd crossed the finish line with my children safe, the truth intact, and my integrity unbroken. That was enough. That was everything. The trail ahead was different now, uncertain in places, steeper than I'd planned. But we'd walk it together, and that made all the difference. Thank you so much for staying with us through Ethan's journey from betrayal to redemption. If you found this story compelling and want to see more narratives about infidelity, resilience, and the complexities of human relationships, please subscribe to Infidelity Director and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. What did you think of Ethan's approach? Was he too calculating, or was he simply protecting his children? And what about Claire? Do you think she deserved a second chance, or did she get exactly what her choices earned her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on how these characters handled their crisis. This story reminds us of something powerful. Integrity isn't about being perfect or never experiencing pain. It's about how we respond when everything falls apart. Real strength shows itself not in avoiding conflict, but in facing it with honesty and courage, especially when protecting those who depend on us. Ethan's race wasn't about revenge. It was about ensuring his children never had to question whether their father showed up when it mattered most. In the end, presence, truth, and unwavering commitment to what matters will always outlast deception, no matter how carefully that deception is planned. Until next time, keep running your own race with integrity.